What's up, guys? Tom here, back for another video, and today I am going to go over my top 5 favorite speakers in the $5,000 price point, which has been one of my favorite price points for a really long time. It is that kind of sweet spot where you really feel like you're getting a very nice hi-fi speaker, but it's not super crazy expensive. So, and there's a lot of options too. I tell people all the time, it's if you can get to the $5,000 price point, there's a lot of really good options. I did shave my beard. I will definitely call attention to that. I had it for 3 years and it was just time. So I shaved it right after Dallas and kind of happened spontaneously, and I'm still getting used to it, even though I've spent most of my life looking like this. It is definitely, but it's cool. I'm kind of glad. The beard, it was, we had a good run, but I'll grow another one and we'll see how it goes. Who knows? But that is that. But, and I'll get into the Dallas show later in the video because we got all into that. Just got back from that trip, but getting to my first set of speakers that I really like. It is my favorite, the Mission 770s. And I have them behind me. You can't really tell because I have the grill on them right now. The Mission 770s, I've talked about them a bunch of times because I've done Mission videos, Spendor videos, my system videos really always come up. So I will just go through them really quick. It is a UK speaker. Mission has been around since the 70s, came back in 2022. They've got the 700s, but these are the 770s. These are hand-built in the UK. A two-way speaker, which I really enjoy. I mean, this is, it's that Spendor BC1 design. It's the two-way. It's the one really nice driver and the silk dome tweeter on top. Just a really musical, natural sound. And I actually just put the Gaia 2 Neos on mine, and man, you know, for people that have been watching, you know, I had the Spendors here. I got to try them out. The Classic 2.3s was my favorite speaker I've had to give them up. Went with the Missions because, you know, easy to digest. They fit in the $5,000 price range. But getting those Gaias, they got a lot closer to what I remember with the Spendors, because they have that suspended stand, the Spendors is. So you get that suspension with these two-way and the cabinets for these. Now, this one is MDF. It doesn't resonate as much as the Spendor, but I'm getting so much more of like a lush mid-range, which I think the Missions do really, really well. That on top of a very clean low end. I went with these speakers because I like hybrids that are really well balanced. And this does that. It is a vintage style speaker. You know, like the Wharfdale Lintons or a bunch of other speakers that we'll get to later in this video. But the low end on the Mission 770s is the less like vintage, if that's a good way to put it, where, you know, it's that spectrum of slow and analytical, or I'm sorry, slow and tony, quick and analytical, bass, like modern bass, which I listen to a lot of bass music. I make a lot of bass music. They want the speed, they want the clarity, and it's an 8-inch driver, but it's polypropylene. It's loaded with minerals to help with the stiffness. It produces very clean low end. Which anytime you clean up your low end, you will perceivably get more of it. And it just sounds way better. So it's the most finessey of the kind of vintage style speakers. And I really think in a hi-fi setting where you want the resolution, you want the dynamics, the Mission 770s do a really great job while still being effortless and very easy to listen to. So here are some just quick specs. Little microfiber dome tweeter that kind of pops out to the front so it disperses really wide. 8-inch mineral loaded. We talked about that. The two-way stand mount. It's another thing that I really love. Those balanced hybrids. Two-way stand mount. I mean, not necessarily the two-way, but the stand mount. It's not a big floor standing, which I really couldn't fit in this room. Maybe I could do a smaller one with like smaller drivers or something, but I just love having the one big driver, as big as you can get it. And the stand mount, it's just bigger than a bookshelf, but not as big as a floor standing. So really easy to deal with, and I just really enjoy them. I'm going to have them for a long time. I'm hoping to upgrade to the Spendor Classic 2.3s for real one day, but the Mission 770s I'm very happy with. And we'll get into these other speakers. We have them all in one system at the store, except the Missions. I have them off to the side because they're so well balanced that if we go through the rest of these and where the customer's not totally satisfied in a demo, that's when I pull out the missions. And, unless I'm talking to them and I think the missions would be a good place to start. But if we're not happy, the missions usually come in and just sound nice. So really, really good speaker, especially at that price. Half the price of the Spendor. So really good. And now we are getting to the second, and this is in no particular order. I did start with my speakers that I actually have, my favorite in this list, but it's not necessarily what I think is the best. It's all subjective. These are my favorite speakers in this price point for a really long time, and I still really love them. These are the Klipsch Forte 4s. Classic. The Fortes have been around for a really long time. Klipsch, if you don't know, is an American speaker company that has been doing it for a really long time. They are really well known for their horns, which really kind of separate them from all the other speakers in this list. But, and traditionally they made speakers that fit in a corner and kind of turned your space into a concert hall where you really felt like the musicians were right there in the room with you, especially with acoustic instruments. But they started to branch out into the Heresies and the Fortes, and now we are on the fourth iteration of the Fortes, still being made in the facility in Hope, Arkansas, which its roof collapsed earlier this year, but they are all good now. But the Fortes are my favorite Klipsch speaker. These horns, they work so well with tubes. Tubes, even Class A is going to go really well. You do got to be careful with the solid state realm of things. If you're getting into, like, I do Parasound. I have a Parasound amp, and they go really well with Klipsch Heritage stuff because it's a neutral sound. It's not over-piercing and all the analytical stuff because those highs can get pretty beamy on those horns, but if you do it right, it really, really is cool. But I've always thought, as far as even compared to the Heresies, the Fortes are the most relaxed and smooth of all the Klipsch Heritage to listen to, which just for the systems I personally use just kind of makes sense. But we do a lot of demos with the Fortes, and they just come alive. For people who don't know, the Klipsch Heritage speakers, kind of relating to the tube stuff, you're dealing with some lower wattage amps, and I'm going to see if I have the efficiency here. We should. They are really efficient. So the sensitivity of 99 dB, so you get 99 decibels with 1 watt from, I think it's like 10 meters away is how they come up with that. But they just get loud real quick, and they're very dynamic. A little bit of power goes a long way. So that's, with the Parasound can change it's how much power it's delivering very quickly, and these will really translate that. So they are, as far as a solid state situation, they go well, but they just have that lively musical presentation. And I'm going to see if we have a picture of the back. This is the back. This is a 15-inch passive radiator. So, and I actually, off the top of my head, I forget how big that front woofer is. Good thing I'm on the website here. It's 12 inches, which there's a lot of customers where if the woofer isn't 12 inches, they just don't think it's going to have a lot of bass, which I totally understand. And you look at it and you'll be like, oh, this is a really good situation bass-wise. The passive radiator makes it even better. You do have to kind of be mindful of your wall placement, but these really will give you a round, full kind of bottom end. And I remember I was always kind of like, my kind of story with the Klipsch Heritage when I first was getting into hi-fi, I was like, this is probably too slow and tony for me, for the music that I listen to. But one day I just said, screw it, I'm going to try it. And I did like just a solo demo at work with the Fortes. And I was like, yeah, that's great. Because that super low subwoofer type of low end is great, but the round kind of warmer low end that the Klipsch Heritage speakers do are really perceivable. And there's a ton of it. So it's a nice full weighty sound. These do pair really, really well with the REL Classics. We just had one in the store for, I think, actually the first time. And I own a T9X, big, TX series, S series. The Classics really do go with these very well. There's just something about it with just the speed to, room filling tone kind of ratio. It just kind of fits really well. So So we'll just go over like the specs real quick. 400 watts peak. They will take your high-powered solid-state amp. You really don't need that. You can get away with it. Although I don't know. I've always thought those little 1-2 watt amps kind of sounded a little flat to me. But I understand why people love it. It's just so pure and organic. But let me know what you think about that. That is the Forte 4s, and moving on to the next one I got here, we've got the MoFi SourcePoints. So another kind of a sleeper, well-balanced hybrid. A lot of people look at the SourcePoints and they're like, this is a modern speaker. But they do they do have that timeless kind of hint to them, and I think a lot of it is the cloth paper drivers, which we don't have the type of material here. What is this called? What is it? Where you at, though? Full range. Jeez, ChatGPT. It's too many fucking lists. Yeah. Well, we're just going to go right. We're just, going to keep it moving. So. But these are a speaker designed by Andrew Jones. And I was actually there when they were debuted. They were debuted at Capital Audio Fest, which is right by us. I mean, we go to all the shows, but I kind of felt special because it was in our hometown. But, and he played this solo trumpet, but it had one of those mutes on the bell, which really just makes it like very mid-rangey, kind of cuts out some of the highs. And it just really was a very organic and natural mid-range. And I really felt like that was what he was trying to show off. But then once the song opened up, it just showed off everything it could do. It was a really interesting demo, that muted trumpet. There's a demo I really like. It's Babylon Sisters on Gone Show, a Steely Dan album, but because it's just pure mid-range with that electric piano. I guess it's a Fender Rhodes, but I don't really demo with that anymore because if you're not like a pro ear guy, that might not do much for you. But just hearing the pure mid-range is really cool for me. And these have just a very lush mid-range. And these are the 888s. They have the 8s, they have the 10s, the 888s, the V10s. So it's essentially there's an 8-inch stand mount and a 10-inch stand mount. And then you have the floor standing versions for each. The 8s are going to get what the 10s got last year, which is a brand new crossover. So if you're getting them after they're released, you'll have them built in. If you already have them, or if you're getting them now before they come out, you'll be able to get them for a couple $100 later. But they don't charge much for them because they want you to have them. They don't want it to be a big investment to get these upgrades. But they really help smooth them out. And when the V10 came out, it just had a better crossover. They put it in the SourcePoint 10, made it the ME, and just really, the SourcePoint 10 ME, in my opinion, is a really good value for a speaker. It's huge. It's got a 10-inch woofer, stand mount, just a really good balance. You're just getting a little bit more weight with the 888s. They have the concentric driver, which is this guy here, and that is the silk soft dome tweeter in the middle with an 8-inch woofer around it, and then you have two active 8-inch woofers under it. So it's technically a three-way. The stand mounts are two-way. You get to the 3, and you got the dual woofers. You can see the design on the inside, and you do have the front baffle, which the sound kind of rare refracts off of it in a kind of interesting way. That's something that Andrew Jones is really good at. You do have the 4-way binding post, which I really love. All the tinkerers really love that. White grills for some different finishes, and yeah, you can get the Gaia acoustic feet on the bottom. We have those, and it's just really awesome. I don't know. I just got some the other day, I put them in yesterday, and I cannot believe how much of an improvement they did. But some of these specs, which they're down here, 6 ohm speaker, but it kind of works as I don't know. I just always think it was an 32 hertz. It's an 8-inch driver getting 32 hertz. That's less than the Klipsch. I told you those Klipsch, they're not as deep bassy as you think, but it's a really, nice room low end. But these actually will get a little deeper, and you will hear that. Nice and smooth, good to listen to. It gets very loud, really slams. Guys that are really looking for just a fun kind of hi-fi experience, come home and you just want to blast music and have like a ton of fun with it. These work in that scenario really well. They are. I mean, I would definitely do the feet. I'd get some Audio Quest jumpers on the back, but they'll actually, you know, they're an interesting speaker. Like they're different than the rest of them. Like they kind of mess up my spectrum of slow and tony and quick and analytical because they're like tony and quick. The next speaker is another kind of vintage comeback, and that is the KLH Model Sevens. And they had kind of a interesting story. I used to sell tons of Model 5s. Back around like COVID, it was Model 5s Lintons all the time. And this was like before the missions even came out. The Model 7s, you know, with the Model 5s being so popular, when they were announced at Expona, people were really, really excited. And they had a pair there, and people heard them. And I didn't get to hear them there. I was down in the just the expo hall running a booth. People were coming down like, dude, you got to hear these Model 7s. They're crazy. So KLH ended up getting bought by Victrola, and the guys that are there, they've been working with us, and they've been really cool and kind of got back into the KLH brand. Met them at Expona last year, and they're just, you know, they're really nice and brought us on. And, you know, it's just KLH and what Lenny and I do, it just, you know, I mean, more now we do things a little differently, but they just always worked really, really well. So it's really great to be back. And finally got to get some Model 7s in the store, got to hear them, got them all. We've had them for a few weeks now. They're all broken in, but they slam. It's pretty crazy. So you've got KLH is been around for a while. They are known for acoustic sealed speakers. So there's no sort of front port, back ports, radiators, down ports, none of that. I think it's like a AR, like acoustic research back in the day, like the AR9s, they were really into that. And this is kind of in that era. And then you got the stand mount. So it is the acoustic sealed suspension. What makes these a little different than all the other speakers we've talked about, I mean, besides the Klipsch horns, is you have an aluminum tweeter. So you're going to get some of that crispiness, really good spatialization, all your reverbs and effects and reverb tails decaying and all that stuff. You're going to get all that detail. This is actually a 5-inch mid-range driver. It looks so small, but 5 inches is not that tiny. This is a 13-inch woofer that they have here, which is the biggest active woofer on this list. And so if that is your thing, this is going to be the one. But it is the cloth woofer, just like the SourcePoints. And, you know, it's all similar to the SourcePoints and the Fortes missions have the plastic thing going on, which I really like. But this is that organic, natural sound with that, you know, resolution on top with the tweeter. But these really, I mean, I would describe these as the most harmonically rich speaker on this list. I actually like, you can kind of have a little more fun with the Model 7s. You know, even then when we got on board with them, they described their room in Expona this last year. And they had used, you know, they didn't get a bunch of crazy hi-fi cables and do all the tricks to juice things up and nothing. It was just basic cables and wire, amp. I think they team with Advanced Paris. So, and that's just a great amp, you know, in the mid-range, you know, basic wiring. I don't know what they use for a source, probably streaming. But, and they were running the room like that, and they just slam. You know, it's the harmonics, it's the dynamics, it's crazy. And I'm not really getting super technical with this, but I like to demo. Lenny's really into like I can't. What's the name of the freaking genre? It's like pop punk, like I don't know, who's that? Travis Barker, Blink 182. All those guys. We'll put on these pop punk cover playlists, and one of them is Teenage Dirtbag, covered by this, you know, emo rock band, and they're just, you know, big guitar tones, and I'd like to demo with that song. It's a very forward, big wall of sound from the guitar, and it just is crazy, and it's just like chunky distortion, and you really do feel all that weight. Tool's my favorite band, and I will admit that the Tool sound is it's so tony. It's not very like there's not a lot of separation. It's not the most dynamic. I'm not really talking about their newest album, but that's my least favorite. That one does actually sound really good, but like all the other ones, it's kind of like they're a little blobby, but there's kind of like a color to it. Actually, those Gaia Neos helped so much with that. I was just like going crazy listening to Tool, but I listened to Tool on these because I was like, this is just going to give that life to the Tool sound that I really need. And I came in Saturday morning and did a just listening session with these, and I was like emotional. And a customer came in and I could not help him. I needed to come back down from space first. It was like pretty crazy. So we'll check out some specs. I don't really know the specs that well. So floor standing, 3-way suspension, 13-inch pulp paper, 5-inch pulp paper for the mid-range, 1-inch aluminum dome tweeter. They go down to 38 hertz. So that's SourcePoints. They still got that the deepest sound. 20K, and they're sparkly, so that's good. 91 dB, which is actually pretty good. That's a little bit more than your standard kind of high 80s, which the SourcePoints and the emissions are in there. I kind of skipped over that, but they will definitely, with it being a little more sensitive, 4 ohms, and only going up to 250 watts for the max power handling. You can definitely hit them with a nice amp and they'll crush, but you don't need to. This would be a good tube speaker, a good low watt tube speaker, as long as you're not getting anything too weird where it can't handle this 4 ohm load. You should be fine. But we do a lot of solid state parasound again with that neutral. If you don't want to get a crazy tube amp and you don't want to pay for a really expensive Class A, I'm telling you, the Parasound is they are just such good amps. But that is the Model 7s. I almost said Model 5s. The Model 5s were just, when I first got in the biz, I did nothing but sell Model 5s for the first year and a half. So that is the first 4. I really only had 4 good ones like that I could clearly come up with. So I'm like, what am I going to do for the 5th one? I love this speaker, but this is a little bit different. So this is the Devialet Phantom Ultimate 98 dB. So $1,900, but you would need to get 2, maybe get some stands for them. And you're basically at that $5,000 price point. A couple of the other ones went a little over. This one went a little under. But these are really cool. I did a Devialet Devialet Astra video, which is their amplifier, but they are probably even better known for their Phantoms. And you may have seen these and you don't even know it. There are airports and really cool like restaurants, and they're kind of tied into the fashion world. Devialet, like people that started that company. And it's a French company. They're rocking and rolling over here, though, and we have gotten into them. Ricardo, he was saying like, oh, dude, like these are really good. And we got him in, and I'm like, we're talking about an active, what is this, a Bluetooth speaker? But absolutely insane, the sound that these do. I mean, they have the bigger one, the 108s, which are unbelievable. You get a pair of those, but they're like $3,800 a piece. These 98s, the name is they will produce 98 decibels with absolutely no distortion. That is the idea. So they're very clean. And this is a very digital kind of state-of-the-art thing. They do some fancy things with the magic wire to really just have a very integrated connection between, their digital stuff and the DAC that's inside. They kind of have a trick with having kind of a Class A amplifier kind of processing the audio, and then like a Class D kind of, providing the power, and just gets you that really low. So it kind of avoids that the distortion that happens, putting the 2 waves together in a classic AB or a Class AB. So, it's just really low distortion. The dynamics, the resolution, the low end on these are really, really good. These specs are just formatted horribly, but go up to 400 watts in the amplifier. But yeah, 98 dB, SPL at 1 meter, full range aluminum dome for the tweeter, and then you have the force canceling kind of side woofers. So, and this fierce shape, when they told me when we were kind of getting trained on them, this wasn't like anything official, but it was like, this spherical shape is something that was kind of come up a long time ago. I guess like some acoustics guys were like, this is a great speaker design, but they just could never do it. Because these woofers, I mean, this guy will go down to, I cannot read these specs. I imagine you guys are just like going somewhere else. But this is going down to 18 hertz for a little Bluetooth speaker. So the amount of force that is inside of this speaker is just absolutely insane. You could like launch a rocket with it. So I don't know. They you know, nowadays it is much more possible to implement this design from what I understand. And they just sound really clean. They work the best as a Roon ready device. So you would, you know, kind of expect to get Roon to, because if you're, you know, you're paying $5,000 for a set of active speakers, you're, you know, either doing AirPlay or what have you. But, you know, your Roon thing will really just get you really high quality streaming, or if you get a NOS with some files, you can really put together a really nice system with these. And it's not all the crazy tinkering. It looks nice in a home. You've got your finishes. There is the gold leaf finish, which does actually, you pay a little more. I should have just been like, get the gold leaf at $5,000. But, you know, same sound quality if you are getting the deep forest or the, where'd you go? The light pearl, which is kind of like a shadier kind of version of white and black. But they really, if you don't want the full system, like when I first like kind of started to understand Devialet, it's like this is going to be really big, just where hi-fi is going and just the general population. You know, something like Devialet just is going to work in a lot of scenarios. And even some of my really hardcore hi-fi, you know, audiophile customers, they know about Devialet, and people that don't know, like, they'll take a chance to go to product. Anybody that ends up with any of their products is like, holy crap. But I, you know, for side systems, if you're like an audiophile, it's just a really nice, if you're in an office and you just want a simple setup, but you're not, you just, you know, you're not, your standards are too high for just a cheap little speaker. So, which I totally get. But, yeah, those are my 5 speakers in the price range. And sorry for the little delay. There was Dallas, and I actually had this video lined up to film and put out, or I had it filmed, and I was going to edit and put it out that Saturday during the show, but I had a booger on my mustache the entire time. I'm not lying. That was a thing. I opened it up in the video, and it was just right there, and I tried to get away with AI and all sorts of stuff, and I couldn't do it. So I just I couldn't put it out. I could not do it. And so I'm finally getting into it now, but Beard's gone. Dallas was great. We put out the video for that. We got to hang out with Kurt, which just really worked out, us meeting him, and got to hang out with the ISO Acoustic guys, man. And you know, John and Matt was really helpful. John is just really, really knowledgeable. I should have worn their shirts. They made shirts because we also teamed with Eversolo, so Nick Lucchini was there. It was just a great team. I got to see the Matrix in one of those like half sphere immersive things. And I just love Texas. Everyone is just having a lot of fun down in Texas. Out here on the East Coast, you know, I like coming back because it's, you know, I like the East Coast, but Texas is a good time. I do. I always like going there, and you never know if we're going to go back there next year. You know, they had a new hotel, and the show is actually really good. They had a different kind of schedule, Thursday through Saturday, and like that Thursday was well populated. If you have any questions about these speakers, any of my other videos, or anything on our website, alleliteaudio.com, feel free to reach out. At this point, you're either talking to me or Lenny, so I don't even need to give you my direct line, which I have one. Basically, get all the calls. So that'll be it. I will see you guys all next time.